So this little thing here is DJI's new Intelligent Tracking Module, and in this video I'm going to show you how it will completely change the game for gimbal shooters. I've used this $69 attachment on a recent commercial shoot and was able to get some really great shots with minimal effort. So let's get into it. The first thing that stood out to me, and one of the cool things about the Intelligent Tracking Module, is just how simple it is to get up and running. There's no messy cables, no complicated setup, it's just really easy plug and play. On the RS4 Mini, you can simply attach it directly on top of the gimbal. If you're using it with the DJI RS4 or the RS4 Pro, like I am, all you need to do is pop the adapter onto the gimbal. It connects right into the USB-C port on the back, and then you lock it in place with a little lever. After that, just place the tracking module on top. It snaps on magnetically with a satisfying click, and that's pretty much it. You're ready to roll in less than a minute. The gimbal screen will let you know that the tracker is connected, and you'll also see a small icon pop up in the top left corner. From there, you can swipe right to dive into all the different tracking settings. Things like composition, active track speed, you can set that to low, medium, or fast, toggling the ring light on or off, or changing the hand gesture controls. And we'll get into a few more details regarding the functionality of the Intelligent Tracking Module, but first let's check out how it helped me capture some dynamic workout shots. So today we're shooting a campaign for a sports drink called Hydrate. We're in the gym and we're shooting some workout scenes with the DJI RS4 Pro and the new DJI Tracking Module, so let's do it. The two shots here on the tire flip might seem pretty basic, but because the subject is moving up and down, it can actually be pretty tough to keep them properly framed. Especially for the close-up, which was shot at 75mm. At that focal length, any movement is magnified, so trying to keep Adrian here in frame when he moves up and down while also tracking him backwards is not that easy. But you can see here that all I'm having to do is focus on the slight rotation and the backward tracking movement. The Intelligent Tracking Module is handling pretty much everything else, so it's adjusting the tilt and the pan automatically to keep Adrian's face nicely framed. Alright, this next shot is a little bit more challenging. We're starting with a top-down angle and then pulling back while tilting the camera up. Now, sure, you could pull this off without the Intelligent Tracking Module, but having it on board definitely makes things a lot easier. I've got Adrian locked onto the tracker from the starting position, and as I move back and lower the camera, the tracker is doing its thing, working to keep him in frame the whole time. It handles the adjustments pretty smoothly, and I can just focus more on the movement and less on constantly correcting the shot. Pushing things a little bit further with this shot right here, I started off with a high angle top down and then go into a kind of a crane down movement. This type of shot would be extremely difficult, if not impossible, to get right without the help of the Intelligent Tracking Module. All I had to do was hold the gimbal in position, frame up my starting shot, and then lock the tracker onto the subject. From there, as I move back and lower the camera, the tracking module is working the tilt axis of the gimbal to get a smooth movement while keeping the subject in frame. Now, a classic gimbal move is the orbit or the half orbit, basically moving the camera in a circle around your subject. And these are notorious for being a bit difficult to keep a consistent framing, especially if you are new to gimbal operating, and even more so when shooting at longer focal lengths like 50 or 75mm. But once again, the Intelligent Tracking Module made these movements much easier to get right. Well, the cool thing with the Intelligent Tracking Module when doing these kinds of half orbit or orbit shots is that you can set your framing in the beginning. So for example, I'm going to frame the talent on the third so that we have some space for example, a logo or a call to action text. And then while I'm doing the orbit, it's going to keep him framed in that third really nicely. So we get a nice clean orbit shot with him perfectly framed and composed. The Intelligent Tracker gives you two composition options. One is center tracking, which will keep your subject in the center of the frame. But the one I find the most interesting is the keep current framing option. This allows you to set up your composition the way you like it. So for example, with your subject in the third right of the frame, and the tracker will then make sure that the subject stays there throughout your camera movement. So there are two ways to start the Intelligent Tracking Module. One way is with the hand gesture. So if I put up my hand like this, you can see that the module has turned green. And if I now start moving, it will keep tracking me. And if I then want to stop tracking, I just put up my hand again and the module will turn red. And if I move now, you can see it stopped tracking me. The module also has a light on the back. That way the gimbal operator also has a status indication. Another way to start or stop tracking is by hitting the trigger on the gimbal. So if you are an operator or if you have an operator, you can just pull the trigger and the tracker will activate. When you're filming yourself, you can basically attach the gimbal to a tripod and it'll give you the option to get a lot more dynamic shots. So instead of just a static shot, I can move around even 360 degrees around my tripod and the gimbal will just keep track of me. So this opens up a lot more opportunities. You can even move down or move up and it'll just keep track of you. If you move fast, if you move slow, it will always keep track of you. And it does a really good job. As you can tell, it's not losing me. So the DJI Intelligent Tracking Module also has something called Face ID technology. So even when there's other people walking through the frame, it will keep locked onto me. It's analyzed my face, it's locked onto my face, and it's not going to switch to anyone else. It'll keep tracking me, even with all these people running through the frame. All right, so another part of this ad campaign are running shots. So we're gonna see how the RS4 combined with the Intelligent Tracking Module is gonna perform while tracking people running at higher speeds and at different angles. One of the biggest advantages of the Intelligent Tracking Module is how much it can help when you're shooting blind. In this shot, I'm filming Adrian from the front while he's running. So I'm holding the camera backwards towards the subject so we can see his face. And I'm facing forward so I can run faster and especially so I don't trip and fall. But that means I'm not able to see the camera screen while I'm running and I won't be able to make any adjustments. Luckily, once I have the tracking module set up and locked onto Adrian, it will pretty much do all the work adjusting the gimbal in real time to keep the subject in frame. It's a total game changer for shots like this one. All right, so we're getting ready for a side tracking shot. Adrian is gonna run on one side of the pillars and I'm gonna run on the other side of the pillars. And that's gonna create a really nice speed effect. And basically I can keep looking forward because of the tracking module. I'm just gonna turn the gimbal like so and then set up my shot using the joystick. So I've got him framed in the center now. Can hit focus. And now I just hit the trigger and the tracking module has got him tracked and it's gonna keep him center frame. No matter how I'm turning the gimbal, how uneven the surface is, I can just focus on running and we can just get the shot. Now, I really love these side tracking shots, especially when you've got foreground elements zipping past the lens. It adds a ton of energy and depth to a shot. But pulling these off isn't always easy. Trying to run and frame your subject at the same time is a challenge on its own. And when you're shooting on a longer lens, even the tiniest shift can throw off the whole composition. So you've got almost no room for error. What's impressive is how well the Intelligent Tracking Module handles all of this. Even when foreground elements briefly block the subject, it doesn't lose track, it just keeps doing its thing. Take this shot from Adrian running up the spiral stairs, for example. I was running at the bottom of the stairs, just lifting the gimbal up as I moved, and the tracker smoothly tilted up to follow him. But the ultimate test, a side tracking shot at 300mm. At that focal length, keeping someone in frame while they're running is really no joke. I was about 10 meters away from Adrian, which is the maximum distance for the tracking module, and it still kept him locked in all the way. Now, you might think that this next shot was maybe captured with a drone, but here's how we actually pulled it off. This was hands down the trickiest shot of the bunch, and honestly, without the Intelligent Tracking Module, I'm not sure if we would have come close to this final result. The way we pulled this off is by mounting the gimbal onto a monopod. Then I had Adrian stand in the middle of the frame, I activated the Intelligent Tracking Module and raised up the camera. At this point, I had zero control over the gimbal or the camera, but no matter how fast we were going or how high or low I would hold the camera, the tracker would keep Adrian in frame really nicely. It really did all the heavy lifting and the result looks way more complex than the setup actually was. Alright, that was my 2 cents on the new DJI Intelligent Tracking Module, and I think this is an incredible piece of gear for gimbal shooters, and for the low cost of $69, I'd say it's pretty much a no-brainer. It definitely has its specific use cases, but for those times, this tracking module is an absolute lifesaver. If you want to check it out for yourself, you'll find a link in the video description, as well as for the DJI RS4 Pro gimbal, which I used in this video. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!